And it looks like it's actually recording. It looks like we have an actual stream, which means we can start a brand new Thursday edition of Bid Nerds. Welcome, everybody, to Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars and bids, and Bring a Trailer, and sometimes some of the other sites. My name is John Polnik. I'm your host. I'm coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada on the Las Vegas Strip. I mean, like we talked about yesterday, it's like 300 feet that way. Not even. It's like 5 feet that way and 300 feet down. And then Michael Deeb right there. He's coming to you from San Francisco, where it's foggy all the time. Michael Deeb, how are you this morning?
Good morning, JP.
Yeah, buddy. It was like, we always start out with the weather like anybody gives a crap.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about the weather. Nobody cares that it was like 70 degrees and perfect here yesterday, and now it's freezing Arctic.
Right.
Winds and whatever.
We're constantly trying to prove to people we do this live.
It's the Weather Channel. We just make up some weather. And
nobody believes that we can execute such a clean show without a lot of post-production,
That's
editing.
Right.
And we're constantly trying to prove to people, no, we do this live. We're just that amazing.
Just that amazing. But we could get away with it. It's Vegas. It's like, well, it's sunny in Vegas today. Well, I mean, duh.
Yeah.
It's always sunny in Vegas and always foggy in San Francisco. Well, all right. So, folks, if you're just joining us and you've never seen the show before, what we do here is we talk about the most interesting cars of the day that are coming up on the auction block on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer. These cars that we are going to talk about today are selling today. They're not our cars. They're cars that we think are the most interesting cars. They're cars that you think are the most interesting cars. People from the audience send us in, tips and let us know about cars that they think we should talk about. So we do that, and we make predictions about what we think these cars will sell for. But more than our predictions, it's really more about what we think about these cars and why we think they're going to sell for whatever they're going to sell for. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they interesting? Well, if we're talking about it, they're interesting. So they're in one way or the other. They might be awful cars, but they're interesting for some reason or another. We keep track of our bids. We keep track of our predictions. And so we always start out the show by going over the cars from yesterday. So if you clicked on this video wanting to see our opinion of this WRX STi that's coming up today on Cars and Bids.
Nice car.
I mean, yeah, it's a super nice car. And how much will that bring? Well, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But first, we're going to talk about yesterday's cars. So let's get to that. Yesterday's big car of the day was what?
The 67, right? The Targa, wasn't that our star car?
That was our big star car, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this was a really cool car, JP, because this was a project car. Listen, with the way Porsche values, early air-cooled values have skyrocketed, most of the cars you see out in public are restored or refurbished in some way. And so it's very rare now these days. This is the unicorn, is to see a car that's not been restored come to market in need of, in this case, just about everything. This is a non-running, however, it is a matching numbers drivetrain. According to the accompanying certificate of authenticity, all the parts on this car are original from Porsche, from the factory. But this one has just been left too long, and it's no longer functional. So this is a pure project. It's going to need everything: bodywork, paint, which is part of the aesthetics you talk about, mechanical. This car doesn't run, so it probably needs an engine and transmission overhaul, and all of the ancillary systems. I imagine the brakes would need to be bled, and it probably needs new tires and a flush of this, that, and the other. And then, in the end, are you in an equitable place? That's the last thing that you talked about as far as when you look at a car like this. And so I really, taking your advice of those three factors, those three pillars of how to purchase a classic car.
Aesthetic, mechanical, and value. Sorry, just to reiterate those three things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I parked my bid at $45,000. And I really liked your bid at 50 because, again, this is a 67 is the last year short wheelbase for the 911. The early Targas were soft window. I think were all soft window in 67, and then in 68 there was an option between a soft window and the glass, and then from there on all Targas were glass. So this is a really cool soft window short wheelbase Targa, and so you bid 50,000, and this car brought a whopping $58,500. JP, that's an extraordinary amount of money for a car that doesn't run.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it yesterday. It's you could probably get, for the amount of money whoever's going to buy this thing or whoever bought this thing at this point winds up putting into it to restore it to get it to that perfect place. It's probably going to be more money than it would cost to just buy one that's already there that's done. But this one will be that person that can afford to do that, either buy this one and restore it or buy an already restored one or one that didn't need restoration. That person doesn't want the car that anyone else can get. They want the car that only they have. They want to make this thing their own and unique because it's not the only car that they have, right? They have a bunch of other amazingly expensive, perfect cars. So this is just, so that person is a unique person. And I think, them throwing 60,000 plus at a project car that's going to cost them another 150,000 at least to get it where they want it to be. Yeah. Whatever. Who cares? I mean, it's a dead person car.
Yeah, I mean, you could get one for the nicest one is probably 180 grand. So, again, there might be some concourse cars that have credible stories that bring over 200, but this one, I mean, again, I love that it's got a California black plate and stuff, but there's rust on this car, and the drivetrain is not running. An engine overhaul could run you $30,000.
There is not one single aspect of this car that doesn't need a lot of attention. Yeah, there's nothing that you can leave alone. And, I think we talked about it yesterday too. I love the idea of doing the minimal, making the mechanical superb, put an awesome engine in there, upgrade all the suspension and make sure that it's safe, replace the floorboards and the rusted parts that are underneath that you can't really see, but that are required to be fixed for the car to operate perfectly, and then leave the exterior looking all patinaed like that. I think that would be the way I would do it. Even if I had the money to make it perfect, I would choose not to make this car perfect because that patina is so hard to replicate. And I'm hoping maybe that whoever buys this sees that and says, yeah, you know what? That's the thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be crazy.
But who knows?
Yeah, so that car sold for $58,500. JP, you won that one. We'll jump over to cars and bids and look at yet another Volvo V70R wagon. I can't get enough of these things. And listen, look at this one. JP with 200,000 miles on this thing. I said 6,000. You said 5,000. That car sold for $8,900. I mean, that is a ton of money for a 200,000 mile wagon with a stick. That's crazy. But it was really clean. It was a really nice example, but still 200,000 miles on a Volvo, and it almost brought $10,000.
And it was out of the Northeast too, if I remember correctly.
Way up there, Buffalo or something. Yeah, that
Buffalo.
It smells like blue cheese and celery in there.
What a hunk of! I mean, geez, Louise. Big fan, huge fan of the show, or actually, I should say, huge fan of. Michael Deeb, Team Deeb over here, sent us a meme yesterday, and it's like, okay, it's like what, loves the Karen Mobile Volvo wagon, nerd turds all over the Caddy V Beast. I will stand by that. I do prefer this piece of junk Volvo with 195,000 miles. I absolutely stand by that. I would absolutely prefer the Volvo over the V whatever, because the V whatever is how much money was the Cadillac, the 2020 Cadillac?
Yeah, it was like 80 grand or something.
$80,000. You know what? Yeah. Here's the thing, cousin, whoever the hell your face is, cousin too afraid to post any of this on YouTube, because what the hell is your problem, dude? Put this stuff on YouTube. What are you sending this? You're gonna DM your friend Michael D because you're too scared to put it out in the world, calling you out. Yeah. So it's like. The wagon with 195,000 miles at $8,900 5 years from now is still going to be worth $8,900. So the depreciation level of that Volvo will be exactly zero and may appreciate, whereas that piece of junk Cadillac, I don't even know what it's called, the new
CT6V.
Great, whatever. I'm not going to commit any brain cells to remembering that. But that car in 5 years is going to be worth a quarter of what it's worth now. So the better investment is as cousin Mark likes to say, the Karen Mobile Volvo wagon.
Yeah. Mark can't wrap his head around why you don't like a Corvette with 4 doors.
Oh, man. Jeez, at least the Volvo has a stick, bruh. All right. So okay. So what else we got? What else did we talk about yesterday?
Moving on. So we jumped back over to bring a trailer and look at a 1967 Chevrolet Corvette. It's interesting because the fit and finish of this car is really nice, and most of the Corvettes from this era are not in spectacular condition. And I thought this one cosmetically looked really nice. It did have a replacement motor, so it doesn't have the matching number 327. And then the 327 that they put in there, they overboarded, so it's no longer a 327. And the Corvette community, they don't like that. They like the car, but they don't like that. So I said 65, which I'm sure probably brought your bid up. You said 60, but this car, after we reviewed it, probably brought one or two more bids. It sold for $47,250. Wow. So congratulations to the new owner. I say you stole yourself a really great-looking Corvette. I wouldn't bother me at all that car didn't have a matching number drivetrain. Who gives a shit? I just want to drive that thing.
I would prefer it over a real one. Yeah.
So at $47,000, that is a Bidner deal. Way to go. Well bought and unfortunately sold for, I mean, the car didn't even break 50 grand and it looks beautiful. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Go ahead, JP.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll jump over to cars and bids, and we're going to look at a couple of cars that like to play in the sand. First off was this 1991 AM General ex-military, decommissioned in 2014. This is a Hummer with the diesel motor, unknown amount of mileage. I said 15, you said 14. This car did bring $18,750 and sold for that price. I got it right just because you parked on the wrong side of my bid. But even under 20 grand, even at 20 grand, an unknown amount of miles, I still think that's a screaming deal for what is a serious bit of equipment, man. That's like, as a machine, that's a lot of value still there with that diesel motor and basically go anywhere post-apocalyptic escape vehicle. Really cool thing out of Washington Plate. So JP, you thought that might be on the base up there for training. So really cool.
Probably Yakima.
Yeah. So, and then the last one was this really car. You and I, we actually spent quite a bit of time on this car. We oogled over this thing. 1995, last year of this particular platform for the Land Rover, Range Rover, Country Classic, long wheelbase. Our car had some miles on it. I think it was 141,000 miles, but was incredibly clean. And these, I agree with you, JP. I think these older, early luxury SUVs are kind of on the rage. I mean, look at some of, there's little bits and pieces where we see cool E1 platform Cayennes bringing like stupid money, in our opinion, because you've been able to pick them up for so cheap for so long. This Range Rover could be the first, the sign of that movement of that needle for the British cars. Anyway, I really like this one. I said 33. You said 30, which I thought was a pretty good bid too. Turned out you were spot on. This car sold for $30,251.
So close to a Yahtzee. Wow.
251 from a Yahtzee. Put you 3 wins for the day to my 2. Actually, a very good day. We were really pretty close on most of the cars. The Corvette was really the oddball.
Yeah. I really love this Rover, and you're right. They're just so unreliable, and I'm still kind of surprised that this car brought as much as it did, given the amount of miles that it had, and not a whole lot of mention of really serious maintenance having been done. I mean, it looks like it had been maintained, but it hadn't had an engine overhaul or anything like that. So it's like, God, this thing is not going to be something reliable. Don't go too far from home with this, or make sure you have your Haggerty Drivers Club card or your AAA, because but super cool car. All right. So that was the cars of yesterday, the cars that we made predictions on yesterday. So that's what we do every day. We talk about yesterday's cars, and then we get to today's cars. So now it's time for cars that are coming up on the auction block today, and we have some really spectacular cars coming up today. What is our car of the day? We already teased it a little earlier.
We open up today in Pensacola, Florida, otherwise known as Lower Alabama, home of the Blue Angels, which is very interesting because our star car, is a 2011 Subaru Impreza WRX STi hatchback in World Rally Blue, which is not quite Blue Angels blue, but certainly eye-catching and my favorite color for the STIs, because that's the color that they ordinarily go racing in. These are just super cool cars, JP. If I ever break down and buy a Japanese car that I want to like absolutely flog, I will probably do some generation of a WRX STi and then just start throwing, like aftermarket equipment on it and make it really fast. I love this car. What we're looking at here has just 13,700 miles. It is a 6-speed manual. These are all-wheel drive. They use a 2.5 liter, 2.5 liter turbocharged. In this case, it's not an inline four. This is a flat four. They call it an H4. So it's a boxer engine, which probably appeals to my Porsche sensibilities. These things make about 300 horsepower. This car is completely unmodified. The only performance options on this car came from Subaru. So it had what is called the 1B Sport Performance Package, which gives you an STi shift knob and a short throw shifter. The BBS wheels come from Subaru. The Brembo brakes also come from Subaru. I think the seats are actually made by Recaro. I mean, this car already has a bunch of cool stuff on it. And this is just a homologation special so that Subaru could take all of these cool parts and take them rally racing. And I love it. This super cool car. I don't know what else to say. I want one. One of these days I'll break down and buy a Japanese car. It'll probably look something like that. What do you say, Betty?
Betty. Who the hell's Betty? This car would look cool.
What up, buddy?
This car would look... Hey, the weasel. This car would look cool with a Blue Angels livery on it. I never thought of that. That would
probably,
be
yeah,
pretty
right?
badass. Look, WRXs are the single greatest rally car ever. There's a world-famous rally school up in the Northwest where I'm from, Dirtfish Rally School. And
nice.
You go up there and you spend your whatever $500 for the weekend or for a day or something like that, and they hand you the keys of one of these, and an instructor gets in there, and you just rip up and down all the dirt roads, and you go through this old warehouse. And interestingly, if you've ever been to Dirtfish in the Northwest, do you remember the TV series and movie? What was the David Lynch one with what was that movie?
Oh yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, we're totally
Twin Peaks.
Yes,
Twin
the
Peaks,
police station in that television show is the Dirtfish Rally office. So yeah, it's you walk in there and you're like, where have I seen this before? This is crazy. Nerding out big time.
There we go.
No, but if you ever look, these cars are. I mean, you mentioned all the mods that you'd want to do to it, but it's like you don't need it. This is one of the few cars out of the box that you can just go, all right, it's good, it's done. I mean, exhaust, wheels, suspension, just about everything. Maybe the exhaust could be a little noisier just because,
It has an exhaust. I kind of missed that, but it has an SPT, which is probably Subaru, but it's catback exhaust system. So anyways, pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, just so much fun, and for not a lot of money. And there's something about the WRX that says that makes it okay for a guy our age to drive one and not look like a boy racer. There's something about the FX or the Ford. What is it? The Ford RS, Focus RS, which is every bit as good, maybe even better than its contemporary STi. Yeah. But it's just a little too boy racer. The WRX makes it okay. I always thought, and it's like this powertrain is so awesome. I don't know why they didn't put it in their FRS or whatever, their two-seater thing. But just a super, super fun car. Great time. And with that 6-speed and the flat 6. Have you seen those T-shirts that say "Flatten the World" or "The World is Flat"?
Yes, yeah.
That started from Subarus, not you see all the Porsche guys walking around with those. Like that's a Subaru engine.
Right. That's totally, that's really funny. No, you're right. If they put this drivetrain and kept that little platform car that they share with Toyota, a real motor, that would be a special car.
I mean, that's what the Supra should have been. What were they screwing around with this silly Z4? Oh my God. Anyways, all right. So what do we think this thing's going to sell for? I mean,
JP, I just wrote down, I put a couple of notes. So anyways, this car does have a cracked windshield. It does have 13,700 miles. These cars were $36,000 brand new, and our car is sitting at $28,500 on 15 bids. So the big question that we pose to you and to the audience is, do you think this car is going to bring MSRP? I don't think that there's just so many of them out there. I don't think so. That being said, I think it's going to get really friggin' close. So I said $34,000. I'm going to stay there. But it's that my bid is $2,000 away from, forgive me, original MSRP, original window sticker. So what do you think, man? Over or under, buddy?
Yeah, well, if it were on Bring a Trailer, maybe. Cars and Bids, I think it's going to stall out. The buyers just don't bring the big money here. They can for some stuff, but I don't think this is it. There hasn't been a bid since yesterday, so I'm going to say 30.
No. There's bids this morning. Just so you know,
there?
there's bids
Really?
this morning. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Maybe there are. Huh? Well, I could be wrong, but I said a number and I said 30, so I'll stick with it. I won't change my bid.
Give me a shot. Yep.
Giving Deeb a shot on that one. All right, stacking the points.
Stacking
the points. I don't know. Man. I mean, why would you spend more than 30 on this? I mean, for not much more, you go get a new one. I mean, it just
well, new ones are creeping up to 50 grand almost, man.
Are they? Yeah.
You buy so many old cars, you've been unaware of what they call
new
inflation.
Car creep. Yeah,
inflation, man.
Yeah, it's true.
They're getting away.
True. Okay, $30,000. Is this a car that you would buy?
Well, not right now.
A lot of other cars that are on
Porsches,
the list that are going. But then again, it's not apples to apples when you say a WRX is kind of a. It's a rally car, but for a sports car, there's a bunch of other cars I'd rather have. If your intentions are to rally, this is the one.
All right, so when you get up over 40 and you're looking at a new one, I would much rather have a 996 40th anniversary at that 40 to low 40,000 range. I'd much rather have that. So, and that'll probably happen.
For sure. All right, so let's move on. That's an interesting car. It'll be interesting to see where it finds it's where it lands, but let's move on to the next car. What do we got?
Okay, we're going to jump over to Bring a Trailer, JP, and look at a 1992 BMW 318i convertible 5-speed transmission, 115,000 mile out of, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, Sykesville, Maryland. So this is an East Coast car. And by all accounts, JP, I really enjoyed looking at this guy's photos. He took decent photographs and it was pretty thorough. And that's a lot coming from me because I don't appreciate, I do, but you can always tell when these are good photographs. But even me as like the typical layman, these are pretty good photos. And the car, by all accounts, appears to be very clean. And he beautifully laid out like all the books and records and keys and all the stuff that he's got. I'd say well done to the seller who is, let me just give him a quick shout out. I can't read that. Whatever. I'm Uranus. What is it?
I'm Uranus. You just got,
I'm Uranus. Yeah, 101. I'm Uranus. Here you go.
So anyways, mode from Simpsons.
Totally, absolutely. So
I'm Uranus in the bar. I'm Uranus. Anyone? I'm Uranus.
Seymour Butts. Yeah. He even framed the window sticker. He's got the hardtop. JP, this looks like a very nice lot. It's got everything there. It looks like it's a no-nonsense. Good photographs underneath the car. There's some surface corrosion, but it doesn't look like the frame or the subframes or anything are rusting out. So it's interesting because this car is just at 9,000 bids on not a lot of action. 10 bids, $9,000. I would think that this would be closer to a $20,000 car. So, JP, tell me why I'm wrong or tell me why I'm right.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. I'm very interested in seeing where this car goes. I had to look very carefully because I owned a car identical to this.
I bet you
did. If you guys are familiar with Lauren in HD, he's one of the premier drift car photographers and videographers in the business. He used to work for me when he was young. He was an intern for me, and I literally gave him a car exactly like this one.
Wow!
I just gave it to him, one of my favorite cars of all time. I mean, the little 3-cylinder, that 1.8 little, what is it? I can't remember the name of the engine.
Oh, jeez. I'll read it to you. It's
it doesn't matter. Whatever. But it's just, it's just the perfect little E30, and it's the right size. Everything just feels good when they're done well. The way they shift, the way they ride, the way they just, everything about it is just fantastic. Even with the convertible, they feel fairly stiff, and this is crazy rare to have that hardtop for the E30. The hardtop for the E30 on the E30 hardtop convertible, that convertible top has got to be worth $5,000. So whatever you're spending on this car, right now it's at $9,000 with, a good 4.5 hours to go. So I think this has a long way to go. If you didn't want that hardtop, you'd have no problem, selling it and, augmenting or, your whatever your purchase price, winds up being.
The double overhead can inline 4 in this generation is called the M42, and it makes about 140 horsepower and about 130 pound-foot of. It sounds like it would be a little weak, but you just have to understand BMW know how to make every car they sell, if it's got a stick, it's usually very fun to drive. And
I mean, that's a lot like the E30 M3 engine. Basically, it's I mean, really kind of a detuned version of that. And God, you just wind it up and go. I'm just getting so excited about this car. If it were under 15, it's like I'm going to be paying attention to it. If for some reason it doesn't hit that, I'm bidding on it. But if it goes over, I mean, I could. This car should be in the mid 20s with as nice as it is and as high as we're seeing E30Ms go.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's got and because it's a 92, it's got the updated steering wheel. It's got the beautiful. Those seats look like they came right out of an M3. Even though he has this stupid Grand Auto cloth thing across the dash, there's a photo of the dash with it removed, and there's no cracks. So he's just trying to keep the sun off of it, and I actually think he should have kept it out of all of the photos. But this car is really clean, and I like it. So it's hard to read the tea leaves on this one, JP. Based on what we're seeing, lack of action, you'd think this car might stall out at $12,000, but I don't. It's on Bring a Trailer, and I don't care where this is. The E30 crowd that love these cars are almost a cult, and I think this car is going to bring legitimate money. So I am going to say that this car, I don't know, as nuts as it sounds, I'm going to say $19,000.
All right. Yeah. I mean, that's really difficult to bid against because does it go over that or does it stall out? I'm going to go with you and say, that this is going to have a late attack. We got 4 hours to go. Will the price double or over doubles what you're saying? And
I'm saying 10 grand. There's 10 grand left in that car.
Yeah. And, with the hard top that comes with it, that should quell the cabrio phobes that are out there. They'll say, it's convertible, and I don't want that. But with that hard top, man, that really, should make people get extra excited on this. Would you say 19?
19, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go 21. I'll just do it. I'll go nuts on this car. I don't know. Something tells me that this car, there's going to be a race for it at the end.
I agree.
If it's less than that, golly, that's just such a value. I don't know what you could get that's as cool for under 20. That just doesn't make, So I don't know. This is going to be an interesting one to watch. We shall see what happens next. All right. Next car. Certainly my favorite car of the day. No doubt about it, though.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to stay on Bring a Trailer, but we're going to go Italian for a second and a little bit further back in time. This is a 1974 Alfa Romeo GTV 2000. Now, 74 was the last year that this car was brought to the United States. I think they made them for another year or two in Europe. But by the time this car was sort of done in the U.S., what we have here now is the third iteration. So it's a 2-liter motor. It's double overhead cam. It's fuel injected. It's got a 5-speed manual. They mostly came with just 14-inch wheels, which I think is what's on this car. But there's a company in England called Alfaholics that makes a wheel that looks identical to that, but it's 15-inch and it's alloy. These cars are known, JP, because they're just fantastic back road cars. If you live near Calabasas or Malibu and you drove the canyons, or if you wanted to run and meet the Porsche guys up on a Friday morning at the Breakfast Club in Newcomb's Ranch in Southern California, this is a great car to keep up with those other guys. It's a total overachiever. They only make about 125 horsepower, but that's not the point of the car. They're lightweight, they're nimble, they handle really well, they steer very precise, and they just sound fun. You can just rev the snot out of them. I mean, it's easy to rev these cars up and beyond 7,000 RPM, and they'll just keep giving and giving and giving. The looks on these cars could be polarizing. I'm a huge fan. It might not be for everybody, but most everybody I encounter always thinks these cars are darling. I'm curious to know what you think about just a no-nonsense GTV. I will also mention our car here out of South Pasadena, California, still on California black plates. Which is incorrect because they're not real black plates, because the car was in 74 would have been a blue plate. But our car is at $50,000. Our buddy Peter George, who lives in Vegas, owns that silver GT3 he bought at Cars und Cafe. So thank you, JP, for that. He sold his 69 GTV on Bring a Trailer for like $74,000, which I still think is the highest price paid for a GTV on Bring a Trailer since they've been in existence. And he had offered the car to me for like 50 or 55,000. I really wanted to buy it, but I wasn't in a position to perform. And I encouraged him to put it on Bring a Trailer and kind of coached him through it, and he did amazing and got, I think, like a record for GTVs. This car is not quite as interesting as his, but really damn close. So this could have a lot of room left, despite it already being at an extraordinary number at $50,000. So, John, tell me, do you like one of these? Would you rock one of that, especially if it was black?
Oh my gosh! Even at this color, I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. I don't know. Is that interior just completely redone? I mean, it looks immaculate.
Yeah, probably.
It has to have been redone. And like the finish, the black finish on the top of the head covers on the engine. I don't have the picture on that. Sorry, guys. But
yeah,
I mean, that all looks perfect. It just looks like, I mean, the headliner is perfect. It's
really
weird. The
nice.
headliner and the seats and the dash, everything is immaculate. But then the sun visors looked like they were a little worn, so it makes me think that okay, all this stuff that was the one thing they didn't spring for, the visors. Here's a little driving video driving around the guy's neighborhood. Yeah, no, I absolutely love this car. I mean, it's Italian, it's light, it's red, it's you're gonna have a good time in this car. I've never driven this era of GTV. I've only driven the '80s ones, I would love to get behind the wheel of a car like this and see what it's like, especially on a real road like the Crest. This video, does that look like, is that the professor's neighborhood?
It could be. If he's in South Pasadena, Professor's not quite in Pasadena.
Oh wait, no, okay.
LA.
I was no. I mean, all of LA looks the same, but this kind of looked like behind the coffee shop that we always meet him at. What's the name of that coffee shop?
Oh my God. Something organic.
All right,
something organic.
Yeah, no, but this car is so nice. All right, so where do we think it's going to land?
So, John, I really don't know. What I'm trying to say is this car is so clean, and because we've seen them bring over 70, it wouldn't surprise me if this car went to 65. Lately, GTVs, which haven't been as nice as this, have been struggling to make 50 grand, and this one's definitely going to do it. So, my bid, I would say, is conservative, and I put it at $58,000. But if this car went to 65 grand or even higher, I wouldn't be surprised. It's just the trend lately hasn't been quite that high. So I'm going to say $58,000.
You're gonna go 58,000. All right, I'm gonna bet the under and say 55. Mostly because I'm just looking at what I mean. I don't know. I'm with you. It's like we've seen them go higher. This one, God, that's such a good looking car.
Just so you know, when you asked if this thing has been redone, it was refurbished in 2009 by Alfa Tacoma, Washington.
Oh, okay, I know.
There you go. So and then
those wheels sure look 15-inch to me in LA.
And they might be, and they might be the ones. It's like I said, they're this company in England that's making these. Can't keep them on the shelf. Like they do a build run and then they sell out and they have to do another build run. Like they're not always in stock because everybody around the globe is putting 15 inches on their Alphas and they look great. I have them on my sister's Duetto. My sister has a 69 Duetto that I'll be bringing with me out to Vegas when I come back. And it's got the 15s and they look gorgeous in the car.
Fantastic. All right, let's move on to the next car of the day. We got a lot of red going on today.
Oh yeah. Here we go. Here we go. All right, so we're looking at a 1993 Cadillac Allante with just 5,000 miles offered to us out of Smithtown, New York. Now, I have a love it and hate it relationship with this car. I commend General Motors for putting, a V8 in a two-seat convertible and then badging it a Cadillac and giving it 300 horsepower. You're like, oh, great job. And then you look a little bit closer and you realize they only offered it with a 4-speed automatic. They mounted it transversely in the front engine compartment, and you start to tilt your head and scratch a little bit and go, no, wait a minute.
What is wrong with you idiots?
They did not. Oh, my God, they did front-wheel drive. GM, you suck. This car is just terrible. Its greatest moment was the fact that Bob and Williams drove in, of course, the called Cadillac. Other than that, this car, it's like an also ran. The 32-valve Northstar V8 should have been a gem, and instead it gets lost in this just sloppy, heavy 4-speed automatic, softly sprung, overbloated, just pig of a car, driving the front two wheels. The Cadillac, get your head out of your ass. This should have been, by all accounts, a really cool car. It was designed by Pininfarina. It had a non-pushrod V8, which was in of itself was a big thing for GM. But they found a way to F it up, and I just hate these things. This is probably the nicest one to come to market in the United States in the last 10 years because it looks like pretty reasonably perfect condition with almost no miles. It's at $20,000, which would be a record since the last one was sold new off a dealership's lot. And it's on 22 bids. But JP, I could not give this a bigger nerd turd, and I was so stoked that they got Pininfarina designed the car, because the first V8 was a dog, and then they put the 32 valve North Star, and then the car was discontinued, and it's because nobody really cared. These weren't driver cars, and it should have been a driver's car, and it's not. Ugh, take it away.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This car landed at about the same, at almost the exact same time as the new generation Mercedes 500 SL and 320 or 300 SL, which was, it was almost like you got to think that GM had some spies over in Germany and saw the drawings of the new SL, and they were like, oh yeah, okay, let's do that. If you're going to copy something, that'd be a great car to copy,
right?
But I could not agree with you more. It's just like the biggest shoot yourself in the foot moment. General Motors coming out of the 80s, going to the 90s, just could not help but screw everything up. Front wheel drive is just an atrocity, an absolute atrocity. This car should have been iconic and classic. Instead, it was the car driven by the bad guy in Rocky IV. So there you go. Piece of crap. Kind of pretty. Interesting from, I guess, if you're a Cadillac person and you want a convertible and something that's it would be kind of cool to have at Radwood, but you're not going to have fun driving there or driving home. It's just
300 horsepower, and it doesn't feel fast because it probably weighs 4,000 pounds. Yeah. And then why do you need a 4,000-pound two-seat roadster driving the front wheels? We're not in Russia. It's not snow on the ground. It doesn't make any sense. It's just, I don't get it.
There were a number of cars that kind of messed that up in that era too. If you remember the Lotus Elan was also a beautiful little two-door roadster. Came out the exact same time as the Miata, and the Miata was all the rage. The Miata was perfect. Front engine, rear wheel drive, light, all the things that you want in a sports car. The Lotus had the Lotus name, for crying out loud. Looked even better than the Miata, but they put the engine, they made it a front, made it a front wheel drive. It's like,
a Mitsubishi engine driving the front wheels, and it's like, what in the hell are you doing?
Yeah, unbelievable. So something about, you got to think about in the 80s when they were building these cars, General Motors was still like, oh, front wheel drive is the rage, so they were still in catch up mode, thinking that, because the Volkswagen Rabbit came out in 75, 76, and that was front wheel drive, and General Motors like, nobody's going to want a front wheel drive car. By the time they figured it out, Honda and Volkswagen and Nissan and all these other companies had been making front wheel drive cars for maybe, for more than a decade. And finally General Motors like, yes, that's the young whippersnappers like this front wheel drive stuff, so that's what we'll do on our new car. It's like, so it would take them another decade to figure it out. So, General Motors.
I
can't believe it's at $20,000 already. This doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
I know, and there's no book that's going to help us figure out what this car is worth. I don't know, man. I put 23,000, but that was last night when it was on 17,000. I'm like, okay, another $5,000. Mm-hmm. Well, it's already those, and it's still got 2 hours to go. So I'm going to up my bid, but only because I'm trying to read the room, JP. So I'm going to say $25,000 brings this car home. But I'm guessing total spitball. So you can spitball wherever you like.
5,000 miles on it. We always say when we see these cars on the auction sites, with low miles, we're always like, oh, why doesn't somebody drive these cars? It's such a crime to not drive these cars. And it's like, this car should go to a collector who doesn't drive it, because really, who gives a crap? I wouldn't want to drive it. The only thing that makes this car even remotely enjoyable to drive is the fact that the top comes down. A nice sunny day, any car that has a removable top is going to be fun, which is why I always give cabriophobes such a hard time. But this car,
JP, to your credit, this car is going to drive like any other car you rent that's midsize or bigger at the airport. It's all, and so the guy with 5,000 miles, which is collector miles, and a $25,000 asking price, which is where I think it's going to take, the guy who buys this car is either the owner or the general manager of a Cadillac dealership. That's the only person that should buy this car.
I mean,
it's the only one
you compare this to the E30, that the BMW that we just talked about, the 318, right? There's a car. I mean, that was basically these cars, brand new, were both on a showroom floor at about the same time. You had
exactly
the option, right? So you could have bought this thing for, what was it, 80 something new, 60?
Oh my God.
I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
In 1993, it was the top of the line for Cadillac. Whereas you could go down the block and go to the BMW store and
for less than half.
Bottom, the very base model is the 318. The cheapest one you could get was the 318 convertible, right? And there it is. You could go in there and you could have bought that car, and that car drives like $1 million. You get in that car today and it feels like, man, this should be, was this the top of the line car back then? Because it drives like that. And it oddly enough, a 92 318 E30 in that condition is worth, what, 5 times how much the top of the line BMW of the year? Well, maybe not an 8 Series, but like a 7 Series or something like that is worth $4,000. So the little E30 was just, I mean, that was the little, and the E30 at the same time, the E30 convertible was sitting on the showroom floor. The brand new E36 four-door sedan was parked right next to it. So a massive light-year leap ahead in design language, parked right next to it. Still the old school, old body style E30 sitting there, still the car that everyone would rather have today. Yeah. So, totally. And the fact that this car is already sitting at twice as much as the E30 just boggles my mind.
Unbelievable.
So, you said 25? Huh?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they land tomorrow. If the BMW actually brings more money than the Cadillac.
I hope so. I mean, there's something wrong with the world if it doesn't. There is humanity has a serious problem if this Allante goes for more money. I'm going to say 24. Park under you in just hoping that sanity prevails. This thing is stupid.
You have way more faith in humanity than I do. There's no way.
Nerd turd, big time.
All right.
Steaming pile of nerd turd right there.
Let's wrap it up today with a no reserve auction on cars and bids.
Yeah.
We are talking about a 1996 Honda Prelude VTEC. And JP, I had to look it up.
Whoa. It's not VTEC. It's VTEC Yo. You have to be technical here.
Yeah. So a 1996 Honda Prelude VTEC, yo.
Thank you.
So check it out. This car, because Doug DeMuro put it in the title, I was like, yeah, everybody knows it's VTEC. I didn't realize VTEC was one of the versions of the motor, and that there were other versions of the Prelude that did not have VTEC, which was really weird to me. I thought they all did. So I learned something. Yeah, I learned something new looking at this car. So our car is offered to us out of San Diego, California. It's got 183,000 miles. This is the 2.2-liter inline-4 that the VTEC version, makes a whopping 190 horsepower. Again, I thought they all did, but they don't. Just the VTEC ones made 190 horsepower, almost 160 pound-foot of torque, driving the front wheels and through a 5-speed transmission. Now, our car has been repainted in a different shade of red. Our car has a handful of small modifications, the 17-inch wheels, different fog lights, black and red leather upholstery, which I think has basically ruined this car. I would not buy this car because of that. I wouldn't spend the money to redo a 200,000-mile Prelude. I would just wait for a nice one to come along. So I don't particularly care for this car. It is too modified for my taste. But Preludes in general, this generation of the Prelude, were pretty cool cars. You would surprise a lot of people on the boulevards in your hometown if you left a red light in one of these things and saw somebody smoking the front tires in a Honda and going, what the hell is in that thing? He's flying. So these were cool cars that I appreciated back in the day. And it wouldn't surprise me to see a clean original one bring stupid money, but I don't think it's going to be this one here. So, JP, your turn to turd on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to turd all over it. It's certainly not a car that I want, but, if you're going to make a front-wheel drive car in this era, this is the way you do it. You make it lightweight. You put a stick in there, and you're going to, and Honda just knows how to make front-wheel drive sporty cars. The Prelude has always been a fantastic platform. This car, was basically ruined with the goofy wheels and that red. I mean, there's something about red too that's just like, you can go too much red so quickly. It is, just a little bit extra red, and you're like, and you can't. The good thing is though, it's just the seats. I mean, you could pretty easily swap out the seats, and there's some kid that probably stole some seats out of Civic on Craigslist that you can buy all over the place, which is why Hondas are stolen so often, because everything's interchangeable. Those wheels are hideous, but again, a 4x100 bolt pattern is about the easiest wheel to replace. You could probably find some stockers or something that's period correct and not hideous. Right. But I'm with you. It's like, really, is it going to be worth it to do any of that? As a driver for a teen guy, if this was on Craigslist or OfferUp or something like that, and it were $5, $6, $7 grand, okay, great. Do a couple of mods, and now you have a classy, cool, fun car that's going to be cooler than anything else that you could get. I mean, basically, that's a down payment on a new Kia whatever that most young people would get. So I would way rather drive a 200,000 mile 96 Honda than anything new made by Hyundai.
Right.
Whatever. I'm not going to nerd turd on it, but it's definitely not a car that's super exciting to me, because it does have a lot of things, unfortunately, wrong with it. But it's not completely ruined, and it's not completely it's not impossible to salvage this thing. Where is it at right now, and where do you think it's going to land? It's only at $5,000 right now. Jeez.
$5,000 on eight bids, JP. It's not getting a lot of love, despite being in San Diego, California, and being under 200,000 miles. I mean, I think, by all accounts, it's got a clean
another 100,000 to go. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. And it's only had 3 owners, so it's not like it's been, whatever. But like I said, it's just the seats really. It doesn't.
You could get a set of seats for this thing for $400, and a set of wheels for same price, and boom, you've got a decent looking car all of a sudden. Because those red seats are glaringly awful, and they're going to ruin this auction. I couldn't agree with you more. But for someone that's a little savvy and can look at this and go, wow. It'd be really easy to fix these seats, or spend the $200. You could probably find some cheap upholstery guy to just change out those centers to black, and you're good. Dude, boom,
that's what I was thinking. You could probably do that for $200. Yeah,
for a couple of $100 and another set of 4x100 wheels. You could get 4x100 wheels with tires somewhere for $400 or $500 off of Craigslist or OfferUp, and sell these for the same price, and probably have a net zero swap.
Right. Totally.
And you'd have a transformed car that wouldn't be embarrassing to drive around, which it is kind of right now with those wheels.
Agreed. Yeah. So again, just under 2 hours left to go out of San Diego. This is a no reserve auction, JP. So there's not a lot to go by. No reserve. I said $8,500. So I'm thinking there might be $3,500 left in this car, but that could be high. I don't know.
I don't think that's crazy. Look, you can tell which one of us is a dirtbag and which one of us is highfalutin, because this guy over here is talking about 15-inch Alfa wheels that probably cost $3,000 that you can never get, and I'm like, you could get a set of these crappy wheels off OfferUp for $400 and sell these for $400. I mean,
that's right.
Yeah, dirtbag central right here. I had a lot of cheap cars over the years. What'd you say? $8,500? What's
that? Just to meet you at the nerd out spot, since we've devolved down to wheels. The bolt pattern on those Alfa wheels are 4 bolt, and they're 4x98, and that's why they're really weird. None of the Japanese None of the Japanese stuff transfers over, so you have to get like Alfa Fiat Lancia wheels, of which there are a ton in Europe at like swap meets that are made out of magnesium, and that's the way to go. So, anyway,
and you couldn't get a what do you call it, an adapter, because the lug pattern is too close, right? So it would be like impossible to.
Won't work. Yeah.
Okay. So you said 8,500. As much as I've defended this car, I don't think it's getting there, especially not on Cars and Bids. I'm going to go 7,500, and maybe it makes 7. A couple $1,000 more, we'll see. I don't know. 8 bids is not very many.
Woof.
Let's go to San Diego and go pick this thing up, and we'll bring it over to the Rami show and blow it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, that's a Thursday edition of Bid Nerd, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer. We do this Monday through Friday, every day of the week. We record somewhere around the 9 o'clock hour, and we really appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, the notification button, the like button, share this thing, let people know that we're doing it. Tell us that we're idiots. Let us know what you think of our bids. Are we completely wrong? You know, I got to tell you, I read the comments, and sometimes I learn stuff from the comments. I'm like, oh crap, I thought I was a total nerd. I'm not as big a nerd as I thought I was, because there's bigger nerds out there. So we want to hear from you nerds out there. So let us know what's up, and join us tomorrow for the last show of the week. We are excited. We've got a little feature for you here on my 996 GT3 to me wannabe
that's
car.
A good tease. Good tease.
So we'll show that tomorrow, and we may even have we'll premiere the video for my 6-speed Cayenne manual.
Nice.
I am going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to sell my manual 6-speed Cayenne. It's not a GTS, it's a base, but I hope you guys are I'm excited to show you this car. I hope you guys are excited when you see it. But I'm gonna sell it and Bring a Trailer at no reserve. So we're almost done with the ad, so it should be going up in about a week or two. How's that gonna end up? Who knows, man?
Roll the dice.
Am I crazy? Exactly.
Yeah, roll the dice.
It's all about the gambling. So let's see how that works out. You'll find out tomorrow on Bid Nerd. So thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, Steve.
Later.